This is the Bananalogue VCS 2 eurorack module. 20 years ago, we released the original version of this to VCS. It was the first West Coast style function generator in eurorack and was featured in the Electronic Musician magazine. For the anniversary, we decided to do a new version. This time it's much smaller and is a dual unit. It's now 9 HP wide and slender enough to sit in almost any rack. You can see the power entry here is clear remark. The unit also has 2 trimmers, one for each section. This controls the amplitude of the output. As I said, it's a dual unit. Each section is functionally identical and independent. Has 3 outputs: AC output, BC output, and end out. This is the LED indicator. There's also several inputs. There's a trigger input. This is a control voltage input, 1 volt per octave input, and just a standard input. We'll go into much more detail on that, but this is the basic of the front panel. I got 4 of the units here in the rack. This module is extremely flexible and could be patched to do a number of different functions, so let's go over a few of those right now. Got the outputs of this section of the VCS2 patched in as a Mordex voltage monitor, just to illustrate what the difference is between the different outputs. As you can see, the AC output is going to cross 0, and current rate's going from about -4 volts to +4 volts. DC output is a mirror. It's the same output, but it does not cross 0, so currently it's cycling from about 0 volts to 8 volts. And then the end out is going to give you a slightly higher than 5 volt pulse at the end of every cycle. The cycle, I should mention, is a switch. It can be enabled or disabled. Basically, it connects the pulse from the end out to the trigger in within the same subsection, thereby looping the function. That. I'm gonna just unpatch this one really quickly and show you that the end out from one section can be used to trigger a second section. And this way you can create more complex interactions between the submodules. Got this section set up again as a LFO. If I flip the cycle switch, you'll see we have basically a slow triangle. Wouldn't turn that cycle off though. So now it will be triggered by the trig in. This top section I've got cycling much faster. And I'm going to use its amp out to trigger our slow LFO over here. And when I hit the trig in, you'll see that it starts cycling again, but it's not cycling at the speed of the toppling. It's because the VCS2 does not have a retrigger. It's going to go through its entire cycle. However, the knobs are set before it triggers again. Let's look at the VC input now, the control voltage section. It's going to be these 4 controls right here. They're all gamed together, which is indicated by that solid line. This is the CD input. It's got a attenuverter, so you can apply negative or positive control voltage. It's got a feedback, which I will talk about a little bit more later. And then the switch, which allows you to select if your control voltage coming in is going to affect the rise time, the fall, or bolt. Right now, you notice there's nothing happening, so I'm going to take a control voltage from our analog sequencer. I'm going to plug that in here. Since the attenuverter is set to 0 right now, we're not going to see any control voltage affecting it. But if I, for instance, adjust the attenuverter towards the negative, you'll see that it's starting to affect it. I'm going to flip the switch to rise. So now the control voltage from the analog sequencer is only affecting the rise time. But for the fall, you'll notice that the rise remains unchanged, but the fall is going to get some of the control voltage. You can also apply that in a positive control voltage by adjusting that. And then feedback is going to adjust the linearity of the envelope. At all the way off, we're going to get completely linear. That's why we were seeing that perfect triangle with. But as we start to apply feedback, you're going to see this rise time is now giving you a non-linear envelope. If I go to the positive, you'll see that shape adjusting also. So you can get a wide variety of envelope shapes, not just straight linear. The 1 volt octave input is also a control voltage input, but it has no attenuation or feedback. I've got the section and cycling out and sort of a sawtooth wave. And we're going to take a control voltage again, turn the analog sequencer and code it into the 1 volt octave. And you'll see that as the analog sequencer steps, this control voltage is going to affect that. If you're using the VCS2 as an LFO or a VCO, you're honestly going to hear that change as pitch. Just to illustrate that, I've now got the AC output going out to a speaker, and you'll hear the 1 volt octave effect on the cycle. The last input on the VCS2 is just called the input. This is the one you're going to use if you want to do like envelope following or filtering. We'll go into that in more detail later, but right now I have both of these sections set up to cycle, and the output of one is going to be input of this one. And we're going to listen to that now. The final controls on the front panel are the rise and fall potentiometers. You can think of either like attack and decay on an envelope generator, but since the VCS2 can do more than just envelopes, it's also like the positive slew, negative slew. I got this set up again as just a slow LFO. If I adjust, you'll see the rise time, it changes the attack, and likewise the fall. If I apply some feedback, this is negative feedback, you'll start to see the nonlinear wave storm. And the controls interact very much so it does take some tweaking. Envelope time is around 40 seconds for rise, 40 seconds for fall, so about 80 seconds total. Let's look at how to use the VCS2 as a voltage controllable transient envelope generator. Right now I'm just using this section to clock an analog sequencer. We're going to pull the gates off of this. Let's take all that to D. Envelope we have set up currently, if we cycle it, we could see what it looks like. Okay, I'm going to pull the trigger also. Thought I need analog sequencer. And you can see when it hits this step, it fires off our envelope. This is, of course, still fully voltage controllable, so I'm going to pull a CDB out of share. Again. And more enough to pull another trigger off, we can do that. You can see the dates are firing this as an envelope, and we can still control the shape of the envelope with the front control panels or via control voltage. We can also use the DCS as a voltage control at the clock source. If I'm using this section to drive an analog sequencer. Remember, at the end of every cycle, we're going to get a 5 volt pulse out of the end out. It's also still voltage controllable, of course, so I can take, let's say, a CD source from the sequencer and drive this. You'll notice the change now in the clock. If we drive a clock up into the audio rate, now we've got a pulse width VCO. We can also continue to use the clock source and voltage control. Here I'll take a voltage control out from the analog sequencer. I'll use that to voltage control the clock. So in essence, the sequencer will be clocking itself, controlling its own clock speed. So we've seen the VCS work as a pulse width VCO. I can also use that as a VCLFO and a VCO with voltage control wave shaping. Right now I have it set up in LFO mode, it's slow, but the only difference is if we go it up in the audio rate, it becomes a VCO. Let's listen real quick. And we could put that under 1 volt per octave control. I should note that the 1 volt per octave is not temperature compensated, so the VCS is never going to be really as stable as like a dedicated VCO, but it can totally work in a tench. Who would use that same patch to demonstrate how we can also use the DCS as a voltage controlled Portamento or Slew? Let's listen again to this real quickly. We have a VCL patch here. All right, I'm going to take that control voltage from the ambient sequencer and run it to another VCS. We're going to use it as a Slew to get a Portamento effect. And you'll hear we can house both negative slew and positive slew when I adjust the rise time here to that and versus the fall. But let's patch that up real quick. And of course, because it's voltage controllable, we can also choose, particularly, for instance, using a gate from Lewis sequencer, what step we want to get that we want. So you can get like acid style Portamento. What if with this VCO patch, instead of slewing control voltage, we were to slew the audio instead? Let's check back in on that patch real quick. But if we were to slew the audio, we'd be making an integrator or basically a low-pass filter, low-pass gate. I'm going to take the audio out and run it through this one, and we're going to show what that sounds like. And remember, again, you're going to get tired of me saying this, but it's voltage controllable. So I'm going to use some other section up here to voltage control this slew or VCF. One of my favorite uses of the DCS is as an envelope follower. We've got this PCO patch up again. I'll have you listen to it for just a second real quick. Now I'm showing you the audio on channel 1 of the Mornax, and I'm also sending the audio out to this section of the VCS, and then it's up with coming into channel 2 of the Mordax. It's going to be kind of hard to see, but basically we're sending an audio signal in and we're deriving a control voltage out of it. And the rise and fall times are going to control how tightly that's matching. Right now it's matching perfectly. You can barely see blue and green. But when I adjust some of the controls here, you can start to see that blue separating. That's how tightly it's matching the rise time. Now I'll adjust the fall time. And you'll see the peaks are being followed quite as closely. That kind of its use is if you want to smooth out control voltages. But essentially we've created a super easy controllable envelope color. Say, for instance, you had a preamp and a microphone and you were playing a trumpet. You could send the audio from a trumpet into here and derive control voltages out of that audio signal. We're back looking at the end out of this VCS. But we basically got 2 clocks set up, 1 o'clock triggering another clock. Linus showed you what that looks like. Now we can use this as a date delay or a date decider. But if I give that into the audio rig, then we're talking about a subharmonic generator. And we'll whistle to what that sounds like. But there's also no reason when you could just use the pulse out. We can also listen to what the 8C output is like. So it's a pretty handy trick. So that's what the GCS2 can do. It's a LFO, VCO, envelope generator, envelope follower, Portamento, Subharmonic generator. It's got a bunch of tricks up its sleeve. It's not the greatest at any of those things, but the fact that it can do so many different things is really handy, especially in a smaller system. Thanks for joining us.